Well, hello, good day, everyone, and welcome to Simplify Revit Tasks with Brian Mackey and Ideate Software. My name is Richard Taylor from Ideate Software, and of course, the star of the show is Brian Mackey.
No, the star of the show are the tools. So,
That may be, but we are just thrilled to have Brian Mackey presenting today. Brian and I have known each other for quite a few years. In fact, I think back when I was working for Autodesk, and actually maybe even at the time where I was working for Revit before Autodesk took over Revit technology, that back in the early days, the sort of early 2000s, is when we started to sort of cross paths. And so Brian is coming to you today from the Denver, Colorado area, and I'm coming to you today from the Boston, Massachusetts area. So again, welcome everyone. You're in for a real treat. And with that, with no further ado, I could go on and on and on talking about all the information about Brian, but I'm going to just switch it right over to Brian.
so one brief quick thing too, if you guys enjoy this and you kind of like what's going on, I do a monthly webcast called Revit Radio. I started this back in, I think it was 2012. It took about a 2-year hiatus just because there was a whole bunch of political stuff going on. So here is the Revit Radio, and yes, I'm not expecting everybody to remember this thing. So if you actually just go to my website, which is down here, if you just go to bdmackyconsulting.com, there's a / Revit Radio, and you can register that way too. So a much easier way to register. So I'm gonna let Richard jump into this slide.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give everyone a brief overview. Of course, Brian's going to be talking about Ideate Software and some of the tips and information that he has using this in a consulting mode. But if you're not familiar with Ideate Software, we create 5 add-on solutions to Revit that really are all about simplifying your Revit data challenges. And just real briefly, I'll kind of go over the fact that we have Ideate Bim Link, Ideate Explorer, Ideate Sticky, Ideate Apps, and Ideate Style Manager that you see on the screen. So Ideate Bim Link allows you to extract information from the Revit model, all the parameter data, be able to send that to Excel, make changes and manipulations in Excel. We're supporting so many more workflows than just exporting to Excel. But you're able to then take that information and then import it back to make changes into the Revit model. And Ideate Explorer is our model browser that allows you to understand every single element in the Revit model, be able to quickly identify things, search for items, and also manage warnings very easily and effectively. And then Ideate Sticky is our solution that allows you to link in Excel data, PDF data, and Word data. So the PDF and the Word is new. Actually, just a few weeks ago, or actually maybe just a week ago, we updated our software. So if you're familiar with Sticky, you should really take a look at that because we've added more support for the PDF and the Word as well. And then our Ideate Apps is a collection of 9 tools that allow increased productivity and efficiency for all Revit users. Just things like sheet management, view management, being able to renumber items easily, be able to understand why something doesn't display. So some really great tools that you should check out. And then finally, our Ideate Style Manager allows you to clean up Revit models. And I know this is a favorite one of Brian, so I won't spend too much time on this because I know he's going to talk a lot about it. But be able to like review all these styles and then realize that, hey, where are these being used? And are they named incorrectly? Do you want to merge them? And basically start to clean up your families, your templates, and your Revit models. So that's a quick high-level overview of our 5 solutions, and I'll switch it back to you, Brian.
Thanks, Richard. A little bit about myself is I'm a little bit different since I am kind of a BIM consultant and I'm all over the place helping clients work on things, bouncing back and forth and getting into that stuff. One of the things that I don't necessarily use the Ideate tools the way everybody else would, right? I know a lot of my clients have Ideate tools and they use them in a lot of different ways. Some of the tools I use, some of them I don't, but and some of them I use in really roundabout ways, which is kind of why when Ideate said, hey, you want to do another webcast? Like, yeah, I want to just kind of talk about other tools you can use. I did do a webcast already for them on Style Manager, basically. I don't remember what we called the previous webcast, but this truly for me is my favorite tool. As a person who's constantly going in and editing clients' templates, clients' families, getting manufacturers' families, et cetera, start looking at it. One of the big tools for me is the Ideate Style Manager. So one of the things that I love about this is you can just literally come in, and once you open up any project, and what's even great about this is if you switch from one project, let's slide this to the side and come over here to the other project, which looks identical, but as I switch from project to project, all of the information in the Ideate tool or in the Ideate Style Manager updates as you start looking at it. So you can switch from one project to the other. This is pretty much the identical project I have open, so not too much is going to change, but you can start to see that just switching it, now you can start to see all those different object styles that are coming on inside of here. So kind of a nice feature to see that you can leave these tools open, and for someone like me who's bouncing around from 15 different families in any given hour, I can just leave the tool up on my second monitor and start to see the different things that are coming in. What I really like, about this is, like, I don't like this thing imports in families. What kind of families do we have? So if I select that and hit analyze, the style manager is going to come in and start showing me what family this is going inside of there. Oh, so there's this one called generic models. It's an Otis elevator, blah, 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 right? So you can start coming through and really just using this to quickly see, hey, what do we have inside of here? What is supposed to be inside of here? And which one of these don't match my standards? I used to always go up to the old school way, manage object styles. In this case, I'd be going, okay, wonder if there's anything weird under casework. A lot of times, like I said, for me, I'm just getting into this in the, I'm getting into this inside of the scenario of family content. So it's not as complicated as every single object style you see here, but you can go into importer categories, and this would be great. I would see there were 2 imported categories, but I had no idea where they were. So my previous thing was, hey, I'll go change it yellow. And if I find anything yellow in the project, then I'll know which families had these 2 things inside of there, right? But there's really no way for me to know which ones they were. And as I showed you, just by selecting this and saying analyze, it will tell me, oh, that's the family that has the offending thing inside of there. So it's a great little tool to be able to come through here and start using it. And like I said, this is one that I use the most. The other thing that I do want to say about a lot of the Ideate tools to everybody that you should do, because some of the input that they've recently got is input from people. So you can actually come in and give them suggestions on a lot of the tools, and go give suggestions and thoughts, or go into the help and say, hey, I want to give a comment. Oops, I forget where that is. Richard can maybe tell me where it is, but
on
a lot of times on the pull down
menu to the right of where you got the dialogue, right there. Exactly.
Dialogue. Yeah. So you can come in here and say request a feature or report a bug, and it is one of those things that if I do find bugs, I send it to them. Ideate's a pretty small gathering of great people. They do look at these, they do talk about them, and then you can also request features. I know one that I've discussed and they're telling me they're going to look at is filled regions. Because I like being able, the fact that I have the fill patterns, but I also want to know what crazy filled regions I have inside of here. So, that's for me something I went in and requested on.
Hey, so we just talked about that yesterday. I didn't know that was a request that came from you. That's great.
Oh, I requested it like 6 months ago, a year ago.
Oh, also, you told me to interject, so I'll just say there's another way to do the analyze too, just so you know. Do you know that you can double click as well?
I did not know that. See, that's what I love about open things. Yeah, I did not know you could just double click one. Usually for me, I'm hitting, not in a project environment, but in the family environment, I'm hitting Control A and then analyzing. So if I hit Control A, it selects all of them. That's what I'm usually doing in a family environment. I would not do that in a project environment, and definitely not during a demo, because you don't want 20 minutes of this analyzing. So, but I did not know you could double click. So thanks for that, Richard.
My little tip of the day.
The other thing that I do like about this too is, as Richard just said, with the double click on the left, so it was like a perfect lead in for me, Richard. If you double click the object you had when it gives you the analyze on the right, it will take you to a view, or in this case, actually, let me rephrase that, it will open up the family for you to actually see the family that's going on. And you will see, since in the project environment, I had switched it to the yellow, since it's editing it from that project environment, it's now going to show me, oh, this is the stuff that's that import symbol that I'm seeing. So double clicking, which I learned for the left side works as well, works in a lot of places in the Ideate tools, which I did not know at first. So for me, that was one of those things I didn't know, but it does even open that family for you if it's a family that you're looking at on something like that. If it's something like a scope box or something like that, it's not obviously going to edit that. Or like the wall sweep cornice, if I come in here and double click it on the right side, it's not going to edit the family, rather it's going to take me to the type properties. So depending on what type of family, if it's a system family or something like that, it's going to take you to the type properties. So this is just one that I use, and I go through here almost on every single client. And I may not even be analyzing, because for me, I need to see what's going on, what do we have inside of here, and this will report everything in the project. it's just not going to necessarily analyze it and tell you what it is, which in some cases can take some time, right? So I don't know, to me, it's just one that I use this one often. I come in here and I did get some old project that had all the old AutoCAD fill patterns. So for those of you who didn't know, if you imported an AutoCAD file way back in the days of Revit, every time a hatch pattern was used, it would be brought into a project. So it was literally like I'd have, you know, concrete, the AutoCAD concrete in there 35 times. So did get a project there. It was very easy to start seeing through here, going through and cleaning up. And you can start seeing, you know, rogue materials. Just great tool that I literally use on a daily basis for myself. So project environment, obviously we're gonna have things like filters, view templates, and scope boxes, which I don't get into that often in the family environment, but I do obviously get into this when I'm editing clients' templates and projects. Like, oh gee, how many scope boxes do you have in this project? And I've cleaned this project up. This was actually one of my clients' projects. I have cleaned this one up a little bit for the work I was actually doing for them. So I covered that in the previous webcast. Just wanted to bring it up again because, again, it's a tool I use daily. But the real thing I wanted to talk about was Ideate Explore and how I'm kind of starting to use this. I get comments a lot about people when they start coming in, or I'm reviewing projects, like how good is this project? How can you start seeing? So one of the things I like to show up here is this sort by. One of the ones that I love is you can sort this by level. So I can start seeing, you know, what's on what level, what's going on, you know, how is this going? But then there's also this navigate tab over here too. That when you start getting into the navigate tab, you can start seeing all the views. So I had to go through here and clean this project up. And so in this particular project, when I came through and cleaned it up, I was able to come through here and see, oh, what views are not on sheets, right? This particular project, we were just linking it in to upgrade it to the client's new template. So for me, it was, I just came in here to delete all the sheets, and I could just click on where it said sheets, hit delete, and every single sheet went away. Yes, I could have come into the project browser in Revit and done a shift select, but I already had the Ideate Explorer tool open. It was just easier to do one click, hit delete, and then wait 5 minutes for it to delete 5,000 sheets, and then I was done. So just a nice little tool to start coming in here and really starting to see in a real project. I should actually switch to the other project. But being able to start coming through here and seeing, you know, what views are on there. You know, here's all the views. There's 319 views. Why do we have 254 views that are not on sheets? What types of views are those? Area plans, okay, maybe they need those. There's some drafting views, but why do we have drafting views not on a sheet? My personal opinion, if you have drafting views, they're specific to the project. If they're not on the sheet, very easy to go through and start eliminating this stuff. So again, just a nice little way through this Ideate Explore. And then again, if you're really curious, you can double click, oh, here's all these drafting views. If you double click it, like we showed you in the previous one, it's gonna come over here and start to show you, hey, here's that drafting view. Here's everything in that drafting view. And there's something way the heck off out in space in this drafting view, because when I do zoom to fit, I got something way out there. But you can start to see that really, really easily. I can just start coming into this project, start seeing it's like, oh no, that's one that they're in the process of putting on a sheet. They're going through and working on this. So it's a really, really, really nice feature to be able to start going through and seeing what views are on sheet, what views aren't on sheets, etc. Right? If you are on, and I don't think any of these are, oh, I thought I actually had one. The other tool that I'll use often is, and I thought I was on a work shared project, this is not, but one of the ones you'll get up here under the sort by is by work set. So I'm not a big work set person. I very rarely create a ton of work sets. Unfortunately, most of my clients do have a lot of work sets. So when we start getting in there and looking at this, then I can go to switch the sort by to work set, and when I get on work set, then I can start to see if they've got like an FF&E, a finishes work set. Why on the finishes work set do I have things like gates, or I don't know what's not finish related? Why do I have mechanical equipment on the finished work set? Things like that. So it's really easy to start coming through, and I'm just going to sort it by level because it would be very similar. You know, once I sorted this out, it'll start showing me all the categories that are on this level, right? If this was work set, it'd say work set 1, whatever. Then I can start coming through here and seeing, oh, look, why do I have site stuff on the FF&E work set? Why do I have XYZ on this work set? And then again, you can start chiming through and getting into this even farther and farther. Oh, on the X work set, you've got this type of thing. Here's what it is. Here's how many of them. And again, if you double click it, it'll select it and it'll zoom you into it. Not select it, it'll zoom you into it. And then once it's selected, you can then spin around, see what's going on, right? So that is one thing that I do often, and it frustrates me, is like I'll double click it to zoom into the object. I'll do a different one here. And then I'm like, okay, let me start orbiting. If you double click it, you still need to check it to select it. So a double click is just to zoom into it. A double click is not a, hey, let me select it for you. I screw that one up quite often, but now you can see it's probably on a weird work set. Yeah, it's on an existing work set, or there's a roof in the way, but I can start seeing that object. So I use this a lot to start QAing the model, and I know there's tools in the Bim Link. I'm talking somewhat about the Bim Link today. I know there's tools in the Bim Link scenario that allow you to do it, but for me, just using this to explore, navigate, and start going through.
Well, I think, and Brian, since you just mentioned it too, is the fact that just like Style Manager, you can have it open, you can work, and so you can use any Revit command once you select things. If you wanted to isolate those or by a view or something, you have the control to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if you guys like BIM managers and you've got this. One of the things to me is detailed groups drive me crazy. There's a time and a place for them, but there's really not a time and a place for 450 of them or 448 of them. So this again is where I really start coming through and saying, okay, what do we have going on in here? What is inside of here? And there's times where I saw, like when it was just called, group one, detailed group one, it was used 425 times. It's like, okay, what is this? Let's start getting this down. It's just much easier in here. Yes, in Revit, in the project browser, I can come down here and see all of those same detail groups. But again, you can start to see that, yeah, there's not a whole lot of detail groups inside of here, but this is how often they're being used, right? And you'll also see that you don't get always in the detail group browser, is you don't always get the array groups, right? There's a weird quirk in the Revit API when you start talking about arrays, but inside of here, we can start seeing, ooh, there's a whole bunch of arrays being used, but even in the Revit project browser isn't displaying that. So I do like it for this. I've worked with Ideate because there's a definite weird glitchy API issue where sometimes the array groups will show up over here, but not over here, or vice versa. So there is an API issue inside of Revit. But yeah, just to be able to come through here and again, using this for QA kind of scenarios. The biggest one where I use it on, and this one you can see right here, is CAD imports. Right, I was, working on a client's file, and I opened up their templates. They wanted me to do a template review on them, and I came in here right away in front of them, and it's like, oh, you guys have 595 instances of CAD imports. This is probably something we really need to get into and start looking at. This is I have no idea what it is. Let's double click it and see where it is. So this is something inside of here. When we start looking at it, it was this one little Schluter strip. So this was imported into a detail, and then it got copied in. The client that had the 495 CAD imports, ironically, somebody then exploded this, and it was all the arrowheads or all the tick marks or something in every single DWG that somebody had exploded. They had removed all the DWG remnants, but there were these little tick marks that 99% of the time were hiding behind a detail item or filled region, so you couldn't even see them. So they had like 400 of these that weren't even visible. They were behind something. So really being able to come in here and start looking at what you've got going on and what's happening here. The other time that I really start to use this, a lot of times I'll get people like, oh, you know what? I'm having issues with this one X. You tell me what X is. I don't care what it is. Oh, with this one door type, with this one handrail type, with this one blah, 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 blah. And what I love about this is I can come in here and they're telling me they're having issues with the family in graphics in one view or another view or something else like that. So I can come in here and be like, oh, you're having a problem with this casework? Okay, well, let me just grab this casework. Here's all the instances of it. Then let me just go look at that casework. And okay, here's that casework family. It looks great in this view. Let me see where it is in this, or let me see another version of this and see where it is. So I can start using this to seeing what's going through and looking at, oh, it looks fine in the view I've opened it in. What specific view are you in? So I do love the fact that I can start using this, start coming through and be like, yeah, here's where it is. It looks fine here. It looks fine here, but really just being able to select it. Now, I really wish, and again, I can actually put a request feature for this, so I need to send this out. One I would love to do is instead of just double clicking this, I would love to be able to right click and then say, find all the views it's available to. So rather than double clicking and choosing a view, I think this is a Revit API limitation, but if it isn't, I would love to be able to right click on it and then just come in here and say, oh, let me go open it up in one of the 30 views it's displayed in. But I think that's a Revit API issue, but I would really love to be able to do that. But what you can see on here also is if you right click on those things in this Ideate Explorer, you can go create similar. So if you're like, somebody's like, hey, I'm having an issue, and I've used this before. Somebody's like, I'm in my own view. They're like, I'm having an issue with this object. right? So I'm like, oh, great. So I find the object in here, I right click, I just say create similar, and then I go place my own. This happens to be face-based or some wall-based or something. But I go create my own, and then I can say, okay, in my view, in this level, because they told me it was on level 2 or whatever, it looks fine. Now let me go start figuring out with what they're doing, right? So it's kind of one of those things that the right click, not only do you get double clicks over here, you get a lot of right click stuff, things, etc. Right? You can right click to zoom in, zoom out, which is just to the view you're in. These are not element specific things, but then you do get the right click things over here as well. And again, if I select that same one and right click, I can do a delete from here. I can do a detailed view, which is then going to give me more data information on this. If you're in a work shared project again, it'll say who was created by, who was edited by, all those fun things that you get to see in there. So the right clicking on this stuff again is something else that I start coming through, and I use the detail view a lot as well.
Brian?
So really,
go
ahead.
I'm sorry. There's a question on model lines, and I just thought maybe you could show model lines as well, since that was something that also is shown in the results tree there.
Yep. So if I come down here to lines. Well, that is one thing I like about this too, is right in Revit, we can see lines, and you get the model lines and you've got the detail lines, so you can really start to see what's going on in here. So all these room separation lines, I can select those. I can start coming through and saying, hey, are there issues with these room separation lines? You know, what line styles are we using? So maybe you hadn't opened up the Ideate style manager. You can start seeing what all those line styles are inside of your project, right? All the detail lines we've got. It's like, oh, okay. 2 thin lines is not a company standard. Why is this in here? Let me go select these. And again, one of the cool things is even if you select it here, as we keep saying, is you've got all the tools over here. So 2 thin lines is not my company standard. So I can just come up here and go, oh, okay, this is just going to be O2 solid. Boom. I've now just switched those. I don't even know what view they're in. I don't know where they are in the project, but I've now just switched those lines to now be the solid lines. So I took those O2, whichever ones I had selected there, I took those crazy O2 thin lines, and now those are part of my O2 solid lines. They're selected somewhere. They're there. There was one. I scrolled too fast. All right, so you can see they're now selected over here. So it's a great little tool. Yes, there's other ways to do this with the style manager, but you do have tools as well over here just to be able to start coming through and saying, hey, look at those. So yeah, you can see all of these. And again, if it is a model line, you'll start to be able to do it. You can double click it. It'll take you somewhere in the model to be able to see it. I love it for room separation lines because usually you're only going to see those in plans. So if you double click it, or if you're in 3D and your room separation lines are on, you can start going through and isolating those objects as well. Okay, so I use this a lot to help me navigate the model and to start just finding things in the model. And a lot of times I'll do it from a 3D view. I'll do it from plan views, but just really being able to start coming through here and looking. You know, the other one for me is, why is there 28 raster images on here? What do we've got going on? Well, let me double click that one, and let's figure out where that raster image is. Okay, so this is a preliminary schematic project for our client. So somebody dropped in a raster image in the elevation, right? Let me just go hide it with the sunglasses, and you can start to see that it's going to pretty much be the entire elevation, because I'm pretty sure this one was done in SketchUp to start with. But you can start going through and really seeing what's going on inside of here and just quickly see what's going on in your model. And like I said, I use this all the time. I get people all the time that, oh man, I'm having problems with X, Y, or Z. I need to find it. I use it a lot for text. This is one thing that I recently just found out, like within the last month. I was always using it to see what kind of text did I have. Okay, this is probably in a DWG text that somehow came in. But not only does it display the text for you, it tells you what it's all saying, right? So it's telling me that there are 6 instances of this 3/32 aerial 3, and here's the values for all of those pieces of text. So it doesn't just say, you know, you've got an instance, an instance, an instance. It actually gives it to you. So when I see something like this, oh, gee, there's a piece of text that probably came from an exploded DWG, and it's literally just a colon. Yeah, sorry, you're going bye-bye, delete. Right, so I'm just going to go in here and say delete, and now I've just gotten rid of that text style, that piece of text out of here. The text style still remains. I'm going to have to purge that out, but I did get rid of that one piece of text that was using it, keeping me from purging it out when I'm trying to find it, etc. So again, one of those things that it will start telling you what's going on. Oh, gee, you know, why do I have one instance? Well, that's 89 instances. What is this 0.9 font here? Oh, there's just 2 pieces of text that say reserved. So I don't know. To me, I really, really, really like it for this type of stuff. Start going through when I'm getting into this and setting it up that way. That's all follow-up questions to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Brian, maybe there's one, I'm not quite sure this is the correct answer, but like if you had like a plan view or just a family, so any family that you might want to replace or change out, you can highlight that family and then just like you did in the property
Yep.
file, be able to modify it.
Yeah, so I mean so one of the questions was coming in talking about can you swap out families, etc. You can't merge families. The question was, can you merge families? And I don't really know what that means, but like if I'm in here and I was like, oh, we'll go back to case, we'll go to doors, sure. If I knew that all these door singles were turning to door single side lights, I can literally just check it here. I now have every single one of those doors selected, right? I have all 20 of this door type selected, and you can tell by my filter in the bottom corner or my properties, you can tell I have 20 selected. If that's the case and you wanted to change them out, then yes, I could be like, sweet, those needed to be these side light doors, right? Going back doesn't really work because now they're all going to be 23 merged together, and I should have done it the other way. So we're not waiting so long, but now you can see under my doors that, gee, they're all merged to be the same side light. What is great about the Ideate tools, and since I'm doing a demo, is the undo still does work. Because since you're just using Ideate to select those objects, it's not actually running any function in the background. Now I can go back to the undo and I've changed all those doors back. So it's not like running through some sort of script to do it. You're still using all the Revit commands to do this. You've just got, hey, let me undo that last Revit command. And I'm literally using, in this case, just Ideate to start coming through here and selecting doors, selecting elements and swapping those elements out. So great, again, great little thing. It'll show you every instance of those. And again, if I select one, it's going to give me the properties. It's going to tell me what the door mark is. Again, if I right click and said, let me go into the detail view, it's going to give me some more information over here if you'd rather see it in stuff like this. It doesn't give you like the mark value or anything like this, but it is giving you what phase is it on, what's the element ID, what are the family types, etc. So you do have a little bit of this. And if I were to just grab all of those and then right click and do the detail view, again, it's going to list every single one of those out for me. And then if you were having issues with this, you can simply export it. And again, one of the things on here, if you were in a work shared environment, is it does tell you what work set those elements are on. And so I had a client, had 2 different architects working the view, and somebody put in a non-standard family, and they're like, no, we didn't do that. We want to know what views those are in because we're pretty sure you did it. And there was this finger pointing thing going on. So literally it was me. I found that detail item family. I just came into the detail item family. I selected it. I right-clicked on it. I said, give me a detail view. It told me what the work set was. I exported that and gave it to them. It took me 10 seconds to find every single view that one detail component was in. Granted, that only works in, oops, I still have multiple things selected. That only works in work shared projects, work sets, because every view is its own work set, so it'll list that out for you. If you're not in a work shared project, you can't know what views the detail views are in without double clicking it and then going to that view and writing it down. Okay, so the other tool that I use in here, and like I said, I use this a ton, just select things, see what's going on. But the big thing in my mind, the Ideate Explorer, the warning tab. Oops, I don't think I need to run a backup currently. The warning tab up here is, I don't ever touch the Revit warnings anymore. I had to be on somebody else's machine who didn't have Ideate. I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm gonna go spend the 20 minutes opening your project through BIM 360 just so I can look at the warnings through Ideate. I've been spoiled way too much. But when you start coming into the warnings dialog box, this is just gonna list all of the warnings you have. Ideate does give you some sort of little classification with the colors. You can change that out. They've easily created newer ways to push that out to your network environment, so everybody has the same color environment. But you have every single warning inside of here. And you can start to see, and one of the questions came up with Ideate warnings, is, gee, what about these overlapping lines, right? So there are 2 area lines that overlap. This is a simple fix in my mind. Again, I can double click that. It's going to say, hey, let me take you to a view that this is in. Let me go zoom into that view. You can still see it still has that element selected over here. And if I click the whole warning, it's going to select both of them. So there's an area boundary line there. So I've got my two area boundary lines on top of each other here, it looks like. But again, inside of here, now I don't get the little checkbox in warnings, but I can still use the delete up here. I can say, oh, let me go delete that one area. Oops, I broke the area, so now it was a bad one to delete. But you can start to see that when I get those overlapping elements, I can quickly come through here and go undo that. I can quickly come through here and start getting rid of the one that I think I need to get rid of. So it is a nice tool to start being able to see, gee, these highlighted lines overlap, these highlighted floors overlap, you know, all of this different stuff that overlaps. Now, one thing you are going to see is sometimes down here, and I wish I had one of these, it'd be for Handrail. You'll see like sketch lines overlap. Well, we all know that you can't have sketch lines that overlap in any family, with the exception of handrails. So when you start to get a sketch line that overlaps, you know that's going to be part of a handrail. When you end up grabbing that, the downside to this is it does not tell you in the Ideate tools which handrail that's part of, and it won't highlight the handrail. But one thing you can do is Revit still gives you the show warnings dialog box up here. And if you were to click that on an overlapping handrail line, and I'm going to go make one real quick. So let me just pull this off the screen, pull this over here. Oh, that was a terrible place to pull it. Let me pull it over here, go to architecture. Let me just come up over here and do a stair. And let's do an overlapping stair so we can actually get this to happen. Shoot, I'm outside my crop region, so I can't see it. Let me cancel that stair. Let me do it over here where I can actually be inside of the crop region and do this. So, you know, let's get out of this view and let's do it in a different view. There we go. We'll do it in the 3D view. Orient to view. Nope, I want to orient to plane. Cancel. Okay, I'll just move the Ideate tools again. I'm trying to keep it on the screen so you guys can see it. And now the problem is I have too much GoToMeeting stuff loading up there, so I'm going to go back down here to the top. Okay, so we'll do a stair again. Probably do it inside my crop region, right? So one of the ones, oh, are stairs turned off here too? Think I did it? Anybody think I got it? Oh, I was close. I didn't actually get it. I was close. I'm going to wireframe. Or is this stair doing something weird? But I was trying to get the warning. I'm obviously not getting it, so I'm going to stop trying to do it on this project. Let me just start a blank project. And we'll do it in a blank project since there's some things going on in that one that I'm not sure. All right, so if we were to do this and we finish it, we're going to get a warning for handrails, right? We've now got overlapping handrails. We get this highlighted lines overlap, right? Well, when you come over here and see highlighted lines overlap, you'll see that these are model lines and they are in this handrail. You guys updated this, Richard. It did not used to do this in the old one.
Hey, we like to slip things in every once in a while.
Hey, yeah, it just used to say highlighted lines overlap, and I would get two model lines, and you would see down here, it would say sketch line. So kudos to you guys on the update last week. This is a very welcomed, nice thing. What I used to have to do is grab this model line and say show related warning, and then here it would tell me which handrail it was. So you guys eliminated a step for me. So kudos to the team, and you can take that back to them that, hey, you're now telling me which one is actually having the issue. So never mind what I just fumbled doing because they fixed it for me.
Well, I think that's good because, I mean, that is the question that came from Laura, that she was asking about the model lines not being able to see them correctly. So you answered her question, so that was important.
Yeah, because we know that if it's a sketch line, if you come down here and it says model lines, then it's a sketch. We know in Revit the only sketch lines, at least to my knowledge, the only sketch lines that can overlap are handrails. Right, so it used to be that if I saw, oh, gee, two model lines overlap and then it's a sketch, I knew it was a handrail. So kudos to the team for doing this. If you don't have the update, you can come over here to say show related warnings, and then it will tell you which railing that's part of. Downside is you then have to figure out which freaking railing it is by typing in the stupid element ID number, going back to Revit and finding it. But now you no longer have to because Ideate has it right there. You double click it, you right click. Can't right click in the warnings dialog, but you can double click to zoom in. So there you go. Kudos to you guys because that's actually really awesome.
Well, and also like back to your other project that had the sketch lines for the rooms, the area lines. I was like
Yep.
another way to like if you highlight those where the warning was, I mean you could go to isolate those pretty easily and maybe
Yes.
because that's what I
That
do a
closes
lot
it.
with the warnings is I'll isolate or I'll build a section box around it because otherwise it's
Yeah.
hard to like figure out like what it's actually showing.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go into on, oh, wait, do I seriously not have overlapping walls? How do I not have overlapping walls? Every client I work with has overlapping walls. Sure, we'll use this one. So when I come in here and I start looking at this, there's two inserts that conflict with wall joins, right? And so one of the big things to me is I love the sunglasses tool or the selection box tool, right? So I'll just come down to the sunglasses and I'll say, let me just go isolate these elements. And then I can start to see, hey, here's the elements where this opening way up here, and if you're kind of confused in which one it is, that opening up there is conflicting with this wall. Don't know what's going on. This wall probably has an edited profile. No, it does not have an edited profile. So I don't know why this big panel, this opening way the heck up there, but in Revit's mind, that's an issue, right? So this is kind of one of those things. And the other thing about it is once I kind of can see what it is, sometimes I'll go back and I'll say, okay, this is great. Let me reset. But then again, as Richard said, it might disappear on me. Okay, what's going on? Well, then I can select these elements and just do my selection box and narrow it down a little bit closer to what's going on. And then I can still have those two elements selected and say, okay, I'm still confused on why this reveal up here is interfering with that wall. But, you know, this is real world scenario. So then I'm going to come back and say, okay, that's not really a warning. I'm just hosed on it. Let me go back and see what the heck is going on over here. So I'll grab the other one, zoom into it, and try to see what's going on with that one. And I'm assuming it's probably the same very bizarre thing, and it is. Actually, that one runs through. So we do have a little one running through here. So just to kind of see what's going on, you can really see, oh, gee, this is how these are going. And I use the selection box, the sunglasses, all of the time to be able to start really coming in with these warnings. And you can clear out warnings so quickly inside of here. The other thing that I always like to show people, and this is not necessarily an ideate thing, but like here, I can start to see that, oh, gee, we have two instances of a wall with mark values. Great, that's fine. But what about these ones here, right? So we've got two different materials. Somebody probably wasn't paying attention to what the mark value was in these materials. This is the one that I actually like about this because this is the mark. You can change the mark without going into the material, right? So this is a material I'm having issues with, right? This is a material. Normally, the way to fix the material is you'd have to go to the Manage tab, you'd have to go to Materials, you'd have to find what that material was, you'd have to go change the mark value in it, right? So that's my O1 paint. Pantone, yeah, sure. We're just gonna say it's this one because I don't really feel like looking over there. And then I have to come over to the Identity tab, and then the Identity tab, oh, I did get the right one. I have to come over here and say, oh, okay, that's gonna be AAA, all right? And that's a pain in the butt, even if I was using the Revit warnings. But here, you can get this, and you're getting the Identity tab right here inside the properties inside of Revit. So it's kind of one of these great things that you can just be like, oh my God, this is great. I can change values to materials right in the properties. And that one, to me, I think that's probably a Revit quirk that's not supposed to happen, but the fact that we can do it is just kind of cool. So the other thing is I'm gonna go to a floor plan on this one. Sure, here's a floor plan. There are some warnings in Revit that when you get inside of here, and I'm gonna go draw a couple walls, architectural wall. I'm gonna draw one like this. Probably a curtain wall, right? Yeah, I did not want a curtain wall, so let me go swap that out. Let me grab the wall, not the mullion. So I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna draw a wall, not a stacked wall, I'm just gonna draw a normal, sure, concrete 8-inch wall, right? Then I'm gonna draw another wall, and I'm gonna deliberately start on top of this so we can get, let me deliberately start on top of it with not a curtain wall again. Oh, by the way, this is a Revit tip that nobody ever uses. When I see people, like, you notice I didn't scroll all the way back up to get to the top of the wall when I was all the way at the bottom under curtain walls. Most people don't use the recently used types down here. This is going to show me all the recently types of walls that were used in this project. I just did an 8-inch concrete. I didn't have to scroll from down here to the storefront all the way to the top to get to the concrete. You can use recently used walls. So little Revit tip there, not an Ideate tip, that I see people not using all the time, right? So now I've got this warning of walls overlap, right? Well, a lot of times when you select an element, you can come up here to say show warnings, right? Show related warnings, which this show related warnings is different than the manage warnings. And the reason why I say this is when I go to manage warnings and I start clicking on some of these things, this is going to give me some of those warnings. It's going to let me see what it's doing, but it doesn't give me options, right? So sometimes you will get options in the warnings dialog box. Close this out. Or if you come up here and say show related warnings, you might get options down here in the corner. So overlapping walls is not one of those. But if I go place a room, let me go draw some more walls real quick so I can get an enclosed space for a room. Great. Architectural room. Really, I purged out all the room tags. Sweet, I need a room tag. That's the one I'm going to show you. So let me go load a generic room tag. Architectural. Oops, they're not under architectural. Alpha folder. I guess I figure everybody needs room tags because, you know, my structural engineers use them all the time. Here we go. So I'm going to place this room. Rooms are obviously turned off in this view, or room tags are. Rooms are on. And room tags are on.
You could use X-ray.
I could use X-ray. That's just really bizarre though, because, oh, it's part of my view range setting. But I wanted to show you is you place a room tag out. Room tags are one of those ones, and what view am I in? I don't have any views in this view range. That's what it is. I'm like at 5,000 feet. There we go. So if I take this room tag and this room tag, I just drag outside of this, right? This is going to give me a warning, and I'm going to say, okay. But what's great about this is if you select this and you say show related warnings, this is one of the ones where you get an instance to fix that warning. Walls being attached to target, you could just say, and I missed the target. You can say detach from target. There's a lot of different ones like that. Where I was going with this is I can actually come down here to one of these warnings now. The element is outside of its host. Let me refresh. It's not seeing that warning. There we go. So let's say there were 200 of these. You can actually select the top one. It will show you all those related warnings, and then I can say, ooh, let me go move that to the room. So same thing with like walls are highlighted walls are attached to but miss their target. You can select that warning and say detach from target, because right, we had a wall underneath the floor's moved or the wall's moved, it can no longer be attached to it. So we can say detach it, right? So some of these things like that, you can say move to and fix really quickly by using the Revit tools. Now you also notice that I had to hit refresh a second ago. Some of these things you fix, and you're like, wow, it's still showing that. Didn't I fix that warning? What's going on? You can see that now if I select that, I don't get to show related warnings. So you do have this refresh button up here, so we can kind of start refreshing. There are some tools that it won't update on, other tools it will. There's also some tools it won't update on, like if you're getting rid of overlapping like area separation lines or room separation lines. If you're still in the align or the trim command, you have to get back into modify before the Ideate Explore tools will open. So that is one of those things that when you start getting into setting it up, really saying, hey, okay, this is what I want to see, and this is what I really need to be going on inside of there. So just some of the other tools that I use in the Ideate Explore, getting into that. Okay. Anything on those, Richard, that I missed on questions?
No, I think we're pretty good on the questions.
Cool.
Laura's celebrating in isolation, she said. She's very excited about the new version.
Isolation celebrating, okay? So one of the other tools that I use, and I don't use a ton of this tool, I'm getting more and more into it, partially because of the type of work I'm doing, but it is the Bim Link tool. And part of the reason why I opened up these two projects, and I've used this tool in a few cases right now, but in the Bim Link tool, when we start getting into it, one of the ones I had is we had a client who they're like, you know, we did a tenant improvement. Oops, I did not know why my row just went away. They're like, we did a tenant improvement, and in my tenant improvement, what we really needed to do is we have another tenant improvement for a different client on the same project. So they're XREFing in the entire building. Sorry, they're Revit linking in the entire building, and then they're doing the little tenant improvement in the one area. It's like, well, we just did tenant A, now we're doing tenant B, but we're going to use all the exact same sheets. So they started a new project to link that in. They did not want to do a save as from the old tenant improvement, but we had all that sheet information in there. So how can we start going through and getting into that? So actually, let me close this and get to the other project. Yeah, so they had all of the sheet information. It wasn't a whole lot of sheets. It was like, hey, we did this 10 improvement, we need another one, right? So one thing about the Ideate Bim Link tool, and it's very, very powerful, but you can start coming through here and you can actually see, I already did one called Sheets in this project. You can start coming through and be like, man, I needed to go look at some sort of category, right? And in this case, all I did for them was I went and I showed them how to select sheets, right? So we selected sheets. We're gonna grab the one that says sheet. I think it's already in here, so it won't let me hit next because it's already in here. And then what happened is once we grabbed the one, yeah, can say once we grabbed the one that had sheets, I pulled out all the properties that we needed. The original one had sheet name, sheet number, sheet issue date. I think I added appears in sheet list. There's a couple of them I did down here, right? So you can start choosing any one of those properties that you're going to need, right? They might have been using discipline for categorizing this in their project browser, right? Bring the discipline across, but start bringing across any of those properties. It's very similar to Revit schedules. They kept the UI similar to Revit schedules. You also find the project you're looking for, the property you're looking for, and bring it across. One thing that they added in this, and not the latest update, I think this was updated about 6-8 months ago, you can actually do work inside of here. So if you decided you wanted to turn all of these off in the sheet list, you can do it right here. So a nice little feature that they gave us, you can actually work inside of here, hit OK, and you're actually going to update all of those sheets, right? So you can have these checked, you can do work inside of here. Certain things you can't grab more than one. So kind of a drag, you do have to go check, 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 check. But honest truth, if people don't know this, you can also arrow down. Ooh, arrow down and spacebar does not work for your tools. Okay, see, I got to submit a wish list. I want spacebar to be able to check and uncheck dialogues, because in most programs you can like arrow down and spacebar and uncheck things very, very quickly. So that's going to be a wish list item I'll put on when we're done here. But so you can see, I can come through here and get this set up, and then all I did is once you get this set up, you simply say okay. Once you get that okay, all I did was say export, right? So I exported this out. I got my one called Sheets. I exported out. I saved it as Sheets. We were good to go. I said, there we go, right? I'll just, I'm gonna export over that so you guys can see the full experience because it's like 20 sheets. I'm gonna say overwrite that sheet. I'm gonna open the file in Excel, and now we've got this nice little Excel file inside of here, okay? So we've got this set up. Well, what I then did is I went into my other project. Is this the one without sheets? No, but still the same one. It'll be this one. So in this other project that I wanted to go create new sheets, right? So there's no sheets inside of here. So again, I went to the Ideate Software. I went to the Bim Link. And then I said, ooh, I got to go create something new. So I'm going to come down here to the category of sheets. And I did hit the S on the keyboard to zoom me down there. And then under sheets, you're going to see they've got this one called create new, right? So I said, hey, great. Let's use the create new version. It gives you all of the values you're going to want. So here's the critical part. You do need to make sure you pull in after this the exact same values you had. So if I was using created by, checked by, I brought all of those across, right? I exported that out, and what you'll see back here, ooh, I thought I was open to that client's folder. I must have closed that. So what I did is I exported it out, and so then I had this new Excel file in here that was just this, right? So it had sheet name, appears in sheet in index, and sheet list, right? So these are the names I had. Yep, and I screwed something up. This is not the one I actually used. But so then I was able to basically copy all of this information into the new sheet, choose the title block, re-import that value, and bring all of those sheets across for me. So I use this to create, and yes, this was probably a terrible example because I was learning on this one when I used this one for them, and I fumbled with it. I probably could have actually copied and pasted text faster than what I did it in. This project only had 15 sheets. Imagine if 14 sheets. If you had more than that, you had 100 sheets, 200 sheets, etc. I did do a very similar process to that for one client. So I had one client who was doing rooms, and they had gotten a whole bunch of Revit files on a project that were the overall campus design, but they were working in one area of this. So the original design architect had went in and did this Revit modeling. In my mind, it wasn't the best of the Revit modeling. The people weren't paying attention to work sets, phases, and all this stuff was kind of all over the place. So they went through and remodeled it to make sure it met their standards and everything, but they did not want to bring all the room information across, or manually, let me say, manually place all those rooms. We did the exact same thing. We exported the rooms with XYZ values, and then we did create new rooms with the same XYZ values, put them in there, and we actually did them in different portions because the design architect did every single room in one phase, but the architect that was doing the record drawings had to do them in existing phase, new phase, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And so they went through and set it up that way as well. So we use the Ideate tools in several different phasings to be able to bring those through and set it up. So again, one of those types of scenarios where you can really start getting into some of these tools. And like I said, if you come in here and just start looking, they've got a ton of different things set up, right? If I just go hit the browse button, they've got a whole bunch of stuff set up in here for creating elements. If you want to go create new elements, here's all the different types of elements you can create: viewports, sheets, rooms, spaces from architectural information, right? So you do have the Revit MEP space information, the space updated, create spaces, but you can actually do room to spaces, which you can bring some more information across than the out of the box space generator will do for you. So there's a lot of different tools inside of here. Under health check, they've got different things for health checks, right? And if I grab one of these, just like health check for dimensions, right? One of the ones they had for health check for dimensions is what's the prefix, what's the suffix, and what value overrides might be inside of there. So you can start coming through here and using this tool to see, oh, where's all my overridden dimensions? What's going on inside of here, and export that out to Excel. One reason why I like doing that is that I can spell check. I can export out to Excel, do a spell check, fix any graphic spelling errors, and then re-import it back into the same project to fix all of the prefixes, suffixes, and value overrides that might not actually be spelled properly.
So yeah, we had a support question yesterday, Brian, that was right on this. They wanted to translate too, which we have that. You can actually export all the text of the project, translate it to another language, and then import it back.
Oh, see, that's a tip. That's a great tip. I have some clients who do that. I mean, I have clients who got to do a lot of that. We do a lot with keynoting, because then they can just swap out the keynote file, but that's great with dimensions even. So I hadn't thought about that. And you can kind of see like all the different properties that you're going to see just for a set of dimensions, what's going on with the dimensions, what's going on with this. Some of this is dimension type styles, etc. So it's one of those things as you start getting into this, there is a lot of stuff that Ideate gives you, more than I've actually played with. I haven't got into any of half of these samples that are starting to go inside of there, but they do have a lot of different things inside of there. So one of the ones I've been using a lot lately is I went in to start checking dimensions. So what are all the names of the dimensions? So for my health check, it was just what dimensions are in the project that don't match, what's inside of here. If I was going to be fixing them myself, I would simply be using Explorer. But for me, I had to give a report out to one of my clients. So I went in and said, hey, let me grab this and give you the report of all these things that don't match what's going on. And again, there's a whole quality control setting inside of here. So what's going on inside of here? Oops, you guys don't have this one called QC. But a lot of different options. And I think the only thing that inside of here, these tools, I was in 2020 today because the projects I had, all of this will work in 2021. 2021, they gave us some additional properties that happened in 2021. So like, is the wall vertical or slanted? So if you're doing something with walls, those are properties you're going to see in 2021. You're not going to see that in 2020. So things like that. But this does work from, I have 18, 19, 20, and 21 installed, and all the Ideate tools work in all of those.
Well, Brian, I see that we have maybe about 6 minutes left.
Yep, I was just going to pause to follow up on, I thought I've been doing good in questions, and you've been probably following up, but I was just trying to really see if there's anything else that I needed to get in and look at.
I don't see any specific questions on Ideate Bim Link.
And I don't see any questions in general, so pretty much what I was talking about. I mean, is there anything else you wanted to stop off or highlight on, Richard, that you like a lot or you get a lot of questions on from clients?
Well, I guess the thing is, I know you were talking about the style manager in addition to this, but you showed that sort of at the very beginning here as well, that you use that quite a bit. And so some of these health check tools that you can sort of work, I guess, in conjunction with both Ideate Bim Link as well as Style Manager to kind of decide to, like you said, review all of your dimensions, but then you may want to go back to the Style Manager to see if they're used in the correct way, or like you said, you've got things that have been copied or imported in from crazy families.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody to talk about like merging families as well, which did get me to thinking about, one thing that's nice about this is like, oh, wide lines and you got lines 05 solid. Notice how they're both purple. Or maybe two lines, you come in here and you're realizing like you saw me manually select one type of line type, bring it in and swap it out via here. But you can also come into like this. I think it's gonna be a terrible example, but I'm gonna merge all of these 05 lines into the 03. So if you came in and you saw that, oh gee, somebody grabbed our really old company standards, or somebody grabbed something from there somewhere else, and there's this line type called, 3 lines. Well, I want to merge the two. There's a merge button here as well. So you can come down here, you can say, oh, I want to go ahead and merge 05 solid lines. Terrible example, but I'm going to go merge those to all 03 solid lines. And now I've just not only merged it, so anything that was on there, but it also removes that style out at the same time. So I do like it for that as well. You can even do the same thing with fill patterns. I know at one point in time I had created a few families that I missed the G in rigid. So I had a whole bunch of families that had id. And insulation, it was the exact same thing. It was like crap. I came in here, realized what families they were, and in the project environment, I was able to merge them. The one thing that I will always tell people when you get in here is if you do merge it here, if that was associated with an original family, it is not opening that family and renaming the fill pattern in that family. So if somebody reloads that family, that fill pattern is going to come back. But it does, allow you to do the merging, etc. So if I came in here and realized, oh, gee, this is used in these 9 families and it's misspelt or something's wrong with it, I need to go into those 9 families and fix that as well. So just an FYI, but again, you can double click it or hit the edit family here, and it will open that family up for you. So you can now go to your manage. You can go to your, oh, wait, no, I could just do it right here and rename it right here, right? So you could come in here, rename it, set it up, save it, reload that into the project, and do those types of things as well. Do be cautious of this, and this is something that I always tell all my clients. I personally would not do that. I don't ever hit edit family from a project environment, because if there was something in this project, it'll bring that stuff across into your family. So in that family, I might have only had that hatch pattern, but if I hit edit family here for the project environment, it might bring in 6 or 7 other fill patterns. It might bring in material, or will bring in materials if you've got them clean. So personally, for me, if I'm going to be saving it on the server, I never hit the edit family from a project environment. I literally go open, find it on the server, and do it that way. So just heads up, their tool does give that option to you. I wish we could do a right click and say open from server, and it would find the server path. That would be really sweet, rather than just editing it directly from the project. But, so that popped up to me when I saw the merge.
There's a quick question from Philip about batch deleting imported line patterns, which I know you can select multiple items if you'd want. Okay. That's what I consider a batch delete. I'm not sure if that's the right terminology.
I'm going to come back here to line patterns because I know most of these probably have 0 things. No, we'll go to line styles. So I know that like probably some of these, I don't want to do too many at once because I don't want you guys to sit here and watch me hit the analyze. You do have to analyze first. Try that again. You do have to analyze first for it to analyze those things. But once you've analyzed them, what I also love about this tool is those 2 things are still selected. So I don't have to go reselect. It's not like it's highlighting everything. I can then just hit delete, and there's my batch delete. So yes, you can batch delete those if you have like imported line patterns, etc. And the other thing that's great under line patterns is not line patterns, which one is it? Object styles. On object styles, you can actually just say, hey, only show me imported styles. I got to leave those checked. So get rid of the normal object styles. Don't check the built-in, so I can only see imported styles. So in some of the things, the way the API opens it up for us, we can literally do the import. On line patterns that would say import on them, you can literally just come up here and say import. It's going to find, and I don't obviously have any of those. We'll just type in the word dash. I can literally type in the word dash, and I can come down here, click in and say Control A, and it's only selecting the ones that are visible. It's not selecting something behind the scenes. So yeah, you can just type in import when you're talking about line patterns or styles, do a Control A, analyze. It is unfortunate you have to analyze those, and then once they're analyzed, you can hit delete.
And then another question, sort of switching gears a little bit, is the sort of the definition of importing something from Excel. And I know that there's probably a dual part to that question, because you can use Bim Link to import like the data which is what Brian was showing you when it comes to like, creating new things or creating elements or items or modifying items. But then there's also the ability just to show things from Excel, Word, or PDF. And that's where our Ideate Sticky comes in, right? You might want to show, I don't know, have you had a chance to review some of the PDF or Word options?
I have not, and this is where it's kind of funny for me. So a lot of times I'm working with clients, and they'll have a whole bunch of stuff typed in a legend, and they've decided that they don't want it in a legend view anymore. They want to just basically do what Sticky does and use the title field of a schedule. So I'll actually go in and grab all of the text that they have in a legend, put it into an Excel file, and then use Sticky to bring it in, and then remove that. So I could actually use it to bring it across, just to generate it for me from the from the Word document they had. They don't want them as images, they want them as editable text. So I use this a lot to be taking stuff from one project template that might have been done, not necessarily in the, like maybe even in the schedule. So like one of them, they've just used like a schedule key. So I export that schedule key out to Excel and then bring it back in via Sticky to switch it from a schedule key up into the schedule titles. So I do use Sticky a lot for that as well. So a lot of my clients have, even though they don't own Ideate, there's a little sheet in there called, do not delete placeholder for Mackey and Sticky.
Excellent.
And then the question also came up on the colors, and I opened Style Manager back up. Colors here mean these are duplicate patterns. So if I isolate duplicate, you can actually see that these two have the exact same definitions of line styles. So grid line and grid line half inch from out of the box template, they're the exact same thing.
Excellent.
So that's what the colors represent.
If you'd like to learn more about anything that Brian showed you today, you can visit us at www.ideatesoftware.com. Of course, we'd love to have you follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn, even Facebook. And we're constantly, creating videos. We've got blogs. We've got help, online help that you can go to our website and learn a lot more. So the Ideate Software is the best place to go to find lots of information about these tools and how you can be more efficient and productive with your Revit workflows.
Thanks, everyone.
So I want to thank Brian. He is awesome. He is like the Revit guru. And we were talking before the presentation. He's got a whole following, so it's really nice, and we're honored to have him as part of this presentation.
Thanks, Richard.
All right, everyone. Well, again, thank you, and have a great day.